Greetings, Derek Hagan here. Welcome to another Money Health Conversation. First one in a while. I've been absent. But today we're back, and today I want to talk about how our experiences and our beliefs can drive our behaviors. And it kind of stems actually from our mind's ability and our mind's kind of impeccable ability to spot patterns. We are pattern recognizing machines. So we see chaos. The world is full of chaos. But we're uncomfortable with that. We don't like chaos. So piece together the patterns that we see. This is what kept our ancestors alive. Our ancestors, well, they wouldn't be our ancestors. The people who didn't do this didn't become our ancestors. So it's a very big jump to get from spotting a pattern to finding correlation and finding causation. This is some statistical terms, but correlation is how closely something moves together. They could move the same way, they could move opposite ways, but that strength of that relationship is called correlation. Causation is what caused it. So just because things are related doesn't mean that one caused the other. So A could cause B, or B could cause A, or there could be something else, C, D, or E, that causes both A and B, or it could be completely random. And that's the thing. When we see chaos, we spot the patterns in it. We think it makes sense. It makes sense because it eases our discomfort. How does that matter? Or why does this matter to you? There's a very common belief that people carry around that rich people are bad. And we'll talk about that in a second, because this vulnerability of spotting patterns and thinking that's the truth stays high. We're vulnerable as adults, but it's even worse as children. Remember, when we're kids, we're trying to figure out how the world works. We're piecing together information here and there, and we want to make sense of the world. So we take observations, 3 observations, 4 observations. In statistics, they call this the law of small numbers. The law of large numbers says you can get to the population, you can get to the truth when your sample size, the number of observations gets big enough. But when we jump to conclusions with small sample sizes, we call that the law of small numbers. It causes us to think the wrong kind of way. So let's go back to those bad people. It's a very common belief that rich people are bad. And we don't know what rich people means. That's in the eye of the person who has the belief. And we don't know what bad people means. Right? So it could be that people with high incomes are greedy, or it could be that people that have saved up a lot of wealth take advantage of people. These are the kinds of beliefs that people have. And they come to this conclusion because they see what they consider to be rich people acting poorly. That's their whole universe. That's all they've ever seen. So that's why you can see rich people here is contained within bad people, because every rich person is a bad person. That's our experience. And so when we see that, we write a little rule in our head. And this rule, when it relates to money, is called a money script. Once we get into that, we jump into something called confirmation bias. Now, confirmation bias is something that's very easy to do in the days of Google, in the days of searching, because you can go search exactly for what you want, why this person is wrong, and you're going to find many websites that tell you why that person's wrong. And it's strong because you're like, yeah, that's what I think, only he said it better. Nobody goes out searching for disconfirming evidence. Nobody says, why might I be wrong? There are some people do it. Most people aren't doing that. And it actually is worse than that. If you go a little bit deeper, you realize that this is subconscious. So the first example was consciousness. We're searching for confirming evidence. We're consciously not searching for disconfirming evidence. But let's go back to that rich person example. Every time we see a story, or we see somebody who we see as rich and they're taking advantage of their employees, or they are greedy, or they're not spending their money in ways that we think they should, bam, triggers our confirmation bias. We think, oh, see, I knew it. I was right all along. But when we see or come contact or come across rich people who are doing good things. We see LeBron James donated a bunch of money to schools, or we see, this celebrity or that athlete started this foundation or this charity, or Bill Gates is doing a lot for illness in third world countries. That doesn't even register. That's just outside of our awareness. We're not even aware of that happening. So we got to realize there's a whole distribution of rich people. There are rich people who aren't bad people. It's just that when you focus down here, you're not seeing that. Focusing on one end of the distribution, on the devils, misses the point. Right? So there is an overlap. There are some people that are rich and bad. But there are some bad people that don't have money, and there are some people with money that aren't bad. There's a whole spectrum. But if all we've seen is that little intersection, that overlap, and then we create our worldview based on that, that's not going to lead to very good outcomes. If all we've seen is something in the tails of those distributions, we might be missing something. So what's the point? The point is, if we can start to increase our awareness, right? Remember, these rules that we're creating, these money scripts that we're creating, fall outside of conscious awareness. And we wrote these, actually, we didn't consciously write these. These money scripts were written for us at the subconscious level. So if we can start to increase our awareness, start to ask ourselves, why do I feel this way? Why do I have that belief? Is it because all I've seen happen to be in this side of the tail, this distribution, that side of the distribution? Once you can start to increase your awareness, you can start to challenge your beliefs that might be limiting you. And that's good money health.